Okay, the one. Okay, the one time I have the tab open, but it doesn't go ahead and have the theme song ready, up and going.
Yeah, don't ask me to do Cygnus Rift. Welcome to a botched intro to another episode of League to the Max or whatever. As always, I am your host with the most, Bryan Andesian Esproza. And as always, I am joined by the Dr. Manhattan of the network, now the first inaugural winner of Incompetent Producer of the Year, Mr. Eric Super something or other Watkins. I don't know how super he is today.
First of all, I've had a little bit of a day. I was up for nearly 24 hours yesterday, so that may have something to do with it. And how are there any other nominees considering all of the podcasts I run on this network?
Rancid Randy's always a nominee.
I mean, you're not entirely wrong, but we don't have to hear from him until March 13th.
Yeah, on another show. Speaking of other shows, would you like to go ahead and tell us where we're live at tonight here on the W2M network, sir? I'm going to take that as a no, and I'm going to have to do it myself. So, hi, welcome if you're listening. We
Look,
apologize for the botched up intro.
You know what?
As my producer is
God.
solidifying his award for Incompetent Producer of the Year 2022, I'm going to go ahead and tell you where we might be live at because I don't have control of the buttons and I don't know where we are. But we hope that you're joining us as I continue to try to cut him off here. We hope that you are enjoying us visually via Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And as always, if you take your podcasts orally, you can find us on your favorite preferred podcasting service, to include Spreaker, Stitcher, Podbean, Castbox. Rate, and review us on Spotify, Google Pods, Apple Pods, and a whole lot more. And he's gone again. So I'm going to continue on the plugging here. As always, you can also find us on our Discord. There'll be a link to that in the show description. You can come and hang out with me and the rest of the W2M Network crew. We'll talk about all things, everything, come join us. It's a wonderful time. And you can always send your comments about Mr. Eric Watkins being the worst producer of the year in a hate mail message via email to s.garber@gmail.com.
You know, I had a retort already, but then right as I was ready to come in and say about facebook.com/W2M Network, twitch.tv/W2Mnet, and twitter.com/W2M Network, I was already occupied again based on recent news with the current geopolitical situation. So call it more of a victim of bad timing.
Well, I already did all of the plugs for you. You're continuing to solidify yourself in worst producer February 2022 here on the W2M network.
Well, I mean, it's the last day of the month, so I had a good run until today. Tomorrow's a new month, so yeah.
Yeah, tomorrow's a new month. Hey, you know what? As long as you do better than Rancid Randy, who does absolutely nothing, you'll not win, which is a good thing.
Well, I mean, he won't be doing absolutely nothing because, again, point of viewer, Selection Sunday, March 13th, the sports movie bracket.
Don't remind me.
Oh, I'm gonna remind you. I'm gonna remind you every chance I get if you're mentioning he and I about all this.
Anyways, So what are we talking about this week?
You
A whole.
as
Is this another much ado about nothing week? Because I almost feel like it's another much ado about nothing week.
well as you were mentioning during a certain recording of a certain other show that will be airing on March 20th, there was a little bit of a drama. There's been more unfolding with the whole LS situation.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna see if I could pull. I want to. Let me see. Let me pull that YouTube video up and find out how long it is, and see if it's not anything crazy. Okay, it's a little on the longer side, so I don't want to play it on air. Um, I thought I sent this to you, and I'm checking our Discord channel, and apparently I didn't, so I apologize for that.
See, I'm not the only one that botches stuff around here.
But I've watched an interesting episode of the Blame Game, which is something that Mark Zimmerman does.
Oh, great. And you sent it there. So now I have to go there and open
I
this.
mean, I because it's a 20-minute watch, and it's something for you to watch later, unless you want to queue it up now, in which case
Oh,
I'll
well,
put
then
it
if
there too.
well, if that's the case, then never mind. You say a bit on the long side. Define long first before you go ahead and you send
I
stuff.
mean, 20 minutes is long for a YouTube video for the show.
It is.
So I would call that the long side.
Okay, so
Not to
that,
be confused with what she said.
well, I mean, that's a different kind of long, but I mean, it's all about semantics.
I mean, you're not wrong. A little bit of cheesecake there on my finger. I had some delicious strawberry cheesecake this evening. Thank you, clearance bin at Walmart. I mean, hey, it's still perfectly good, right? It's just, runs out of date, they have to mark it down and sell it. Otherwise, they'll toss it. And even though it's still perfectly good cheesecake. So,
I wasn't saying anything towards that. I just had a flashback to a lovely night involving chocolate mousse. You're
no
looking
comment?
you're looking around awful weird right now. I'm pretty sure I explained this story.
I don't know if you did or if you didn't, but I mean,
My first ex or
oh,
my first girlfriend.
yeah, we've gone through that before.
Yes, that chocolate mousse.
Well, I don't want to get too caught up on chocolate mousse because I almost got some Oreo chocolate mousse at the Walmart today. Funny that you mentioned that. It was also in the discount bin at the bakery department.
Oh, I could have had fun with that.
And I'm like, you know what? The last time I got this, I wasn't too thoroughly impressed by it. So I left it on the shelf. They also, weirdly enough, had a gigantic, like, half sheet cake. It is very rare that I see sheet cakes in the
Especially
clearance bin at Walmart.
especially half a sheet cake. I guess it was for an order that went wrong.
Well, it was like half decorated, so and it was blank so that you could, they could put your own message in the middle or whatever. So it's possible that they just made one and it just sat for so long because people didn't like the decoration or whatever that now it's up for, it's on clearance. And hopefully somebody buys it in the next 10 minutes so they don't throw it out.
Which is fair. I get that.
Because it's, 10:50 local time and Walmart's still closing at 11. Please go back to 24 hours. Sincerely, somebody who works overnights.
Yeah, well, if Walmart pays people more money and you'll get more people willing to work at Walmart instead of having to deal with greedy corporations, then you will be going back to opening 24 hours.
I don't know. I think Walmart isn't going to go back to that model. I think they've realized that they're saving more money than it was worth to keep the stores open overnights, like 24/7. I don't think they're going to go back to that model. Maybe we see them eventually go to like a 2 a.m. thing, right? Like they'll close at like 2 a.m. or something. And they'll have the store closed like, 4 hours a day or 6 hours a day for restocking and cleaning.
Well, I mean,
But
as
I don't think we'll ever see, at least not for the next, I don't know. I'm gonna say decade, probably.
well, I mean, we all know that there's one great reason Walmart exists, and that's just like with certain types of women. At 3 a.m., you're damn thankful that you can be inside of one.
Family show? Question mark? I don't know if I'm allowed to get away with saying family show here on League to the Max or whatever, but
All
damn
things
it, I'm
cons-
gonna try.
all things considered, I kind of doubt it.
Again, damn it, I'm gonna try. But anyways, back on topic here. um So Travis, he released it through Travis Gafford's channel, but we got this 20-minute long thing out of Mark Z of why, and the video is entitled "Why Fans Should Be Angry About C9, LS, and to a lesser extent TSM's Drama" as well. Um, the biggest thing that is in this video, right? Remember last week I touched pretty heavily. We spent a good, maybe, I don't know, 20-25 minutes talking about this, where I said that if this were traditional media, we would have like all of the different reporters having a field day with this. Half of them would be right. Somebody would have it right on the nose. Some people would be so wildly off base you think it was scenes from a hat.
Yeah, we did in that. Very, very apt. Very apt.
Um, Mark Zimmerman actually talked about that himself, and he pretty much said the exact same thing that I said, which is sitting here making me wonder either A, Mark Zimmerman, if you're watching my show, just tweet me at the Andesian. We can do a collaboration. Or B, why the hell am I not an esports journalist?
Both of those are very, very legitimate possibilities.
Like I'm
Besides, you know
saying,
how
like
much money and
it baffles me that I keep saying things like a week or two before the mainstream esports folks start talking about the exact same fucking thing I said.
you haven't parlayed this into breaking into esports journalism because
I mean, I'm trying. We need the viewership.
which is why you should go ahead and listen to us on your podcast streaming service of choice or watch us on your preferred medium of choice, including YouTube.
Um, but yeah, no. Apparently, there's now litigation pending in the whole LS drama. So if you thought there was a media embargo on this before, to use a sports journalist, or not even sports journalism, but just regular journalism term, there's definitely going to be a media embargo on this now, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
LS isn't talking to anyone about it. He did get back to Korea. He is back to streaming on his Twitch channel. One of his first days back, he addressed some drama going on with a player streamer. I don't know what the hell is going on with the C9 Malice drama. That's not something I have been caught up on or has come across my various feeds. But he addressed that. He spent like about 35 minutes addressing that, but he hasn't touched anything, and he's refusing to touch anything related to his dismissal from his wholesale dismissal from Cloud9. And apparently, from what I have heard, is there is now litigation pending in the matter. So I don't expect to hear any like confirmation of sides of stories for months. It could be even a year,
Ugh.
because we all love how civil breach of contract litigation works, especially if they try to drag the process out in arbitration before going to court.
So basically, all of this will be turning into what we're currently dealing with Major League Baseball. Gotcha.
Um, but despite LS being gone, Cloud9 still doing well in the standings. They've only dropped 2 games so far this season. They're 7-2, tied for first with Team Liquid. You love to see it, kind of. I don't know. Again, I don't know how I feel about rooting for Cloud9 right now. I still feel like there needs to be more transparency there. We still haven't gotten any like concrete. Hey, you know what? We heard your feedback. Here's what really happened. And again, with the whole litigation thing, I don't think we're getting it anytime soon.
Okay.
It feels weird to root for Team Liquid, right? I've rooted for Team Liquid in the past when they had Double Lift, but that's because I'm a Double Lift fan and not a Team Liquid fan. And this is another thing. This is actually another thing, and I'll take a moment to talk about this.
Yeah, but before you do, how the hell are they 7-2?
There was a super week this week.
Oh. Continue.
Sorry. It was I forgot to mention that. We had one of our super weeks where it was 3 days of shows or 3 days of games.
Okay. Continue.
Yeah, sorry about that. I just realized that I probably should have explained that. So this is something I will talk about because Travis brought it up in his video. I think we kind of talked about this last week. I'm pretty sure we've talked about this on the podcast at some point.
I believe we
But
have.
The fact that esports differs in its fan bases than traditional sports ventures or teams, right? In esports, you can't build a brand base just off of a regional affiliation, right? And I think that's kind of why Overwatch did what it did and did the whole, city team thing, because they realized that that was a weakness within esports. But you cannot build a regional identity driven brand in an esports environment, right? You have players from all over the world. You can headquarter yourselves in a certain region, sure, but that's not going to get you fans like, say, the NFL, right? You can't just be like, okay, I'm the Cincinnati Bengals. Hello, right?
Right.
Hey, come root for us. That doesn't work in esports. Esports has to build their fan bases off of success and off of the players that they select to play for them. And to a lesser extent, and which is becoming a bit of a bigger extent, in more modern esports, the ownership of the teams has also been extremely instrumental in creating brand engagement and building brand development for these orgs. Can you still hear me? Because my microphone looks like it just went dead.
Yeah, I can still hear you just fine.
Okay. I'm looking at the little meter on my microphone here, and it just like, oh no, bye bye, good night. Um, but yeah, no, that's something that Travis also, or that Mark also mentioned, and I have to agree with him. Right, fans in esports are fickle because most fans either support an org for whatever reason, or they support a player within an org. The people that support a player within an org, it's very difficult to convert them into actual full-on org fans, right? They're there for because the player that they like or they engage with or whatever is playing for that team. When that player leaves, their allegiance to that org is done for the most part, right? They're not going to continue to, buy brand merch or whatever. Maybe they'll, maybe they're rooting for you every once and again, but being a quote unquote full time fan, or a merch buying fan is definitely out the window as soon as their one player or two players that they like goes. But then you have players who are, or you have fans who are there for the org, right? And that is a lot harder to build in esports. And when you do something like Cloud9 did, and you shake the faith of somebody in that org, right? You lose them, and they're going to go over to another team, or they're going to be like, well, you know what? I like, or they become a player person, right? Like, oh, you know what? I like how Core JJ is been playing, and maybe I'm going to go root for Team Liquid now because they got Core JJ.
And
Just as an example.
but you're actually seeing a lot like that in traditional sports too. I mean, they had the thing to where I believe it was like Jerry Seinfeld who would talking about all the player movements and this and that way back in the day. It's like, oh, you're rooting for laundry when you're rooting for those particular teams. Yes, you do have like those generational fans and in some markets who root for team over player, but that's kind of becoming a thing as well, to where it's like, all right, you're going to go ahead. You have certain players you like, you follow, you jump teams as those players do. I think the only difference in
I think that's also in general that's a generational shift, right?
yeah, a generational shift, and it's a little bit harder in esports, as you mentioned, and one big thing, actual physical location. Because in
We
one
just had
part, like,
LCS finally have its first games, what, 2 weeks ago? Yeah, 2 weeks ago was the LCS's first games back.
yeah,
And I
and
don't believe they have an audience yet either. I think it's still empty stadium.
yeah, and even then, it's one centralized site, like how you have a lot in the past couple of years teams and leagues operate in bubbles. And like you said, and you had a perfect example, the Cincinnati Bengals. You could go to Riverfront Stadium back in the day, Paul Brown Stadium now, the place, the arena, the building where you can gather and see your team play. And that was a big part of that locale. Yeah, you have esports teams who headquarter in certain cities, but you're not going to have all of these teams and all of these esports leagues have team houses or perfect dedicated building stages, arenas, whatever you want to call it, for just these teams. In some cases, it just isn't practical. In other cases, it isn't feasible. So that's an extra hurdle to kind of overcome in a sense.
Yeah, there was an org. I want to say it was Immortals. I'm leaning towards Immortals. I could be wrong. That recently decided to headquarter not too far outside of Grand Rapids, Michigan, right?
Mm-hmm.
as their primary North American headquarters. But there's no players out there, right? That's if anything, they're content creators. Maybe are traveling out there to stream or whatever. But for the most part, esports is condensed to LA and Atlanta.
Yeah.
It for a while with Overwatch League, I want to say Texas, like Austin, was either Austin or Dallas was getting in on a little bit of that action. But generally speaking, esports, it was primarily LA, and then Call of Duty came in, and that, oh my gosh, it was I think MLG and somebody else backed venture, and they ran out of Atlanta. Um and I think there's very minimal esports stuff going. I know Smite, which is ran by High Res. They're based out of Georgia, in the Atlanta metropolitan area, like greater Atlanta, like to somebody not from Atlanta, you probably call that Atlanta Metro. To people that actually live in Atlanta area, they'd probably call that North Georgia.
So basically, the suburbs of the suburbs.
Yeah. Because as we all, if you pull up a map and look, Atlanta's already pretty damn north as it is.
Mm-hmm.
You pretty much have, depending on where you're coming from. But if you're like me and you're coming from Florida and you're going up there for your annual vacation every year, you have to cross 3/4 of the damn state just to get to Atlanta.
Well, not to mention, I mean, I know some people and they say, oh, well, they're right on the border near Tennessee. So I'm like,
Yeah,
okay,
that's
feasi-
definitely a thing.
feasibility from there to Atlanta, farther north, but doable,
Yeah, I think
especially.
it's like 45 minutes um from the Tennessee border to Atlanta or something like that. I think Nashville's like Atlanta to Nashville only takes 2 hours.
Hmm.
Sounds about right.
I may have to have further discussions about one particular pit stop I may need to set up during the vacation this year.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Atlanta to Nashville will take 3 hours 45 minutes. Um, if you're going from yeah, that's the pretty much the biggest city, the first biggest city in Tennessee would be Nashville. A little bit closer to the border, you've got a whole bunch of smaller towns. Um, yeah, no, it looks like it looks like it'd take about an hour and a half from Atlanta, from downtown Atlanta, to get to the state border.
Okay, I may need to make some arrangements.
Um, I don't know. I don't know that geography super crazy well, but yeah, like I said, that is part of the thing with esports, right? And that Cloud9 has to consider is when you lose brand engage, when you lose fans like that, you're not exactly going to easily get them back. Because it takes a lot to get people to be a fan of you to begin with, when there's so many other teams that they can easily go be a fan of, which I think is also part of the reason why we see a lot of bandwagoning fans in esports.
Mm-hmm.
It is a lot easier to be a bandwagoning fan in esports than it is in traditional sports.
Agreed.
But yeah, no, I did want to take, and I'm gonna link the. I'll make sure that let's make sure we have the link in the video description to this featurette, because if you have the 20 minutes, it's worth the listen, right? If you watched or listened to last week's show, some of the points there are going to be reiterated by him in words that I think might, and terms, and in a way that I think it might be better than the way I put it.
Done.
But for sure, it's worth the watch. Um, but it's part of the problem. It's a multifaceted problem. Um, One of it is because of the insular nature of the LCS and how media works within the LCS. Nobody's willing to go out on a limb and create original content reporting. Everybody will regurgitate something that a team has already posted, sometimes almost verbatim. If they do have inside sources and they do find out about them, right? They don't want to leak it, because if they leak it, they get shut out of the news ecosphere of LCS and they're done for, right?
Mm-hmm.
They burn a bridge that they can't afford to burn because that bridge is their livelihood.
Right.
But it shouldn't be that way. Because even if they leak it anonymously and all this, it'll eventually come back to find out who leaked it, right? At the end of the day, somebody will know. It's like, oh, wait a minute, hey, I told him this. They're not going to come out publicly, but I'm sure there'll be DM conversations of, hey man, why'd you leak this when I told you about it? That wasn't for leaking. But yeah, no, it's media reporting in the LCS needs to change for sure. And Mark Zimmerman does make an analogy to the NFL and its news cycle and circle. Um, he kind of paraphrase. I'll kind of paraphrase what he says, but he says essentially something to the effect of, there are times where sports media is just absolutely terrible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially in some of the reporting that they do. But if the LCS performed or operated, I shouldn't say performed, but if the LCS, if journalism within the LCS operated the same way that it did in the NFL, we'd have gotten more information than we would have ever gotten directly from the teams, rather than just the four major esports websites regurgitating the same PR statement article crap, or a PR team statement in article form, excuse me. Because to be honest, it's kind of what they do. If you really go back and look at it, the only time we ever really get original reporting is when somebody does an opinion piece on what's going on in a season or what's going on at Worlds, like at a tournament, right? We never
Mm-hmm.
get opinion pieces. We never get original reporting. And I'm going to put that in air quotes. Whenever you get these like high profile, potentially scandalous news articles and happenings or events. um in a way, news journal, like the news media, their job more or less is to hold people's feet to the fire, right?
Mm-hmm.
That ain't happening in the LCS.
Nope.
And if you can't do that, I think you're a coward. And you can't really call yourself a journalist, because
And
true journalism comes from the capability to say, okay, I have a story. I can't be afraid to go with this. I don't care if I'm charring somebody's leg off the public has a right to know, because that's what journalism is. It's the public's right to know information.
And the fact is, even in traditional sports, you have those journalists that are accused in certain media in the smaller towns and the smaller markets who are accused of not being critical. They're the ones who are always known as the laughing stocks. In this case, now you have that form of media, as you mentioned, for an entire league. How are you going to get any sort of positive growth when that happens? Just how?
I think part of it, I think Riot, and this might be a hot take, but I think Riot has something to do with it, right? Riot
Mm-hmm.
wants the league ecosystem to be this entirely closed caged. Damn it. Excuse me a second. Riot wants the league ecosystem.
What did you just hit that thing with?
It's my little buddy. He's completely washable, so
Okay.
it's my little
All right.
collectible Dragon Con buddy. Sorry, I didn't have a paper towel nearby, and I didn't want him to get away. Yeah. Fucking bug people need to come in again. I hate the winter time. What was I saying? Oh, right. I think Riot has some responsibility to this, right? Um, Riot wants this like perfect closed loop ecosystem where they have as much control as they can possibly get their grubby little fingers on, right? And since they're the end all be all and can more or less shut anybody in any org and any person they want out of competitive esports, especially in English markets, on a whim, they kind of get what they want, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, in a way, it's a chilling effect, right? Like, it's, I don't know how else to put it, but if Riot doesn't like something, they're going to be like, or if Riot doesn't want something to release or whatever, they're going to do every damn thing possible to make sure that it never sees the light of day, right? They'll
Right.
bury competitive rulings deep in the League of Legends esports website and barely mention them on air, if they even do that. And I think the orgs and the journalists know that if they want to cover Riot, even if it's something, or the LCS, even if it's something unfavorable, they have to do so in a somewhat favorable light. And that's not journalism. That's not true journalism. That's
Mm-hmm.
like, and this is a little bit of a stretch here, but I don't think it's far off. It's state-run communist sponsored media.
Again, you're not wrong. You're not.
It's like, look at the communist countries that have the state-run media outlets where if the state doesn't like it, it doesn't get reported on because they control the news.
I could really go into.
And I'm not, and no, we're not going any further than that. And I will echo what has been said on many other shows so far here on the W2M network. I stand with Ukraine, and you guys stay strong. But I don't know. Again, I think Mark Zimmerman here, Mark Z, says more than I could sit here and talk about and break the land speed record on the network over.
Yeah, don't. Nuh-uh. You already promised that we wouldn't tonight.
I didn't say tonight, or maybe I did.
Yes, you
I don't.
did.
I don't remember which. I don't remember which show I threatened things on and which show I promised things on anymore. Damn it! And what order in which they appeared. Because I could have promised in one and then revoked the promise and threatened in the other. And hey, here you go, 5-hour show.
At least we won't have to worry about those with Rancid Randy this month.
I think we will, just in a different way. Um, but no, fans should be angry. Something awful had to be done for LS to get fired in the fashion that he did hours before a show or before a match, right?
Yes.
And we won't know what's going to happen, especially now with lawyers involved, possibly ever, which is unfortunate because I think the fans have a right to know. But I think the team, at least the players and Max Waldo, right? Maybe not so much Jack, but the players and the team, the core of the team, right? The coach and the 5 players or the 6 players, if you count the sub. Um, they know what's going on here, right? They know that they're like, I would hate to be a player on Cloud9 right now, and I definitely would hate to be Max Waldo because the amount of pressure that is on you has been like ratcheted so much that you're losing circulation to limb
Mm-hmm.
to perform because they know that not only are people not only are they practically going to have to beg people to continue to support them because they know that the situation isn't their fault, or at least the behavior that I'm seeing genuinely intendly leads me to believe that it isn't their fault. um if they fail spectacularly, like I said last week, you fired LS, you got what you deserve. If they succeed without LS, it's still going to probably get credited to LS because Max Waldo subscribes to very similar, theory crafting and approach to the game that LS does. The entire team was handpicked by LS, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So the other part of the problem is these orgs have gone too PR-y, right? Everything is too canned PR statement these days. And that is like, I would expect an esports organization, which is video gaming, right? I would expect them to take a more personable touch in PR statements and marketing and all that kind of stuff because that's like bleeding edge. They're trying to appeal to, the latest generation. And the best way to do that is to not sound like a canned fucking robot, right?
Mm-hmm.
But esports is doing the exact opposite. Whereas mainstream brands are actually hiring human people to do and telling them to actually sound human and show have actual like empathy and stuff um in what they say and tweet and all that stuff. Esports is like rolling backwards. They sound more canned PR more than ever, while you got brands like Target, for example, because that's one I can think of, or Uber, or whoever else who actually have like you know social media teams, right? These people are literally paid to sit and type out handcrafted human responses on social media to people tweeting about whatever. Hell, Wendy's is a really good example of it, right?
Don't
Wendy's is not shill can PR at all whatsoever.
Please do not remind me of Wendy's. I'm still kind of Mad but hilarious over a tweet that they clapped back at my Tampa Bay Rays. So many bad memories.
And see, that's my point.
I mean, I'm not saying anything mad.
You're proving my point for me by
I,
saying that.
I
Like, think
know.
about it. Think
I
about it. You are quite literally proving my point by saying that. No amount of PR shrill canning would cause you to be like, oh man, I really remember that tweet that Wendy sent out about me that says we apologize for the inconvenience. But everybody will remember the clapback tweet that Wendy's put out about their favorite sports team because
Yeah.
it sounds like a rival fan did it. It
Eh,
sounds like a fucking person wrote it, not a machine, not a
oh,
bot, not computer generated whatever,
not
not somebody stuck in the 90s on fucking, power speak.
not even the fact that a rival fan did it. The player involved in that tweet, in that whole situation, who was on a whole ass other team, actually quote tweeted it and just laughed about it himself. I,
But you see the
but
point that I'm making, though.
I do, but yes, that's exactly what LCS, if anybody, especially with their demographic, should be doing things like that. Instead of focusing on the same, power speak, coach speak, however you want to call it, you can make with a decent investment, beyond minimal, but a decent investment into something like that, and it pays off fivefold, tenfold, whatever. That kind of reach is something that you can't necessarily buy.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Um, I don't know. Like I said, you got to watch the. I mean, we've talked about this for 30 minutes now, which is probably which is definitely longer than the video. But this is my fucking show. We'll talk about whatever the fuck I want to talk about. Um, to quote a certain person from last week. Um, go get your own damn show. Oh wait, you have a whole damn network. Oops. Also, bang bang, shots fired. For a different reason.
You'll find out about that March 20th, ladies and gentlemen.
But yeah, no, I don't know. I feel like we haven't heard the end of this, even though it's probably going to die down for a little bit because I don't think we're getting any new information anytime soon. This definitely is not going to be the last of this.
Oh no, not at all. Not at all.
And I hope that these CEO owners, whatever, watch watch Mark Zimmerman's video and be like, look, we need to change how journalism works and how we allow journalistic reporting in the LCS. And if it's if it's something where your investors and whatever don't like it, you know what? Buy the fucking investors out.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because a lot of the investors that I know that are in esports tend to have typically come, especially from the NBA side of things. So I think that they have a pretty good understanding of how sports ecosystem media works. So I don't think that is an issue. But if it is, get rid of your fucking, find a way to get rid of them, right? Their shares can be bought out. Pretty sure you got a contract for it, right? They get their money back. They no longer sponsor, owner, investor, whatever. And you no longer have to report to them and worry about pissing them off. But yeah, no, it's that video is worth the watch. It said a lot of the stuff we talked about last week in a way that I think it puts it in a point of view from somebody who actively works in the LCS industry in a way that I couldn't.
Yeah.
Because Mark Zimmerman is he is a journalist. He is an analyst. He's regularly on the LCS broadcast, right? And I think he puts it into a way that I couldn't, and that's what makes it watchworthy. But in other news, with all that said, segueing because we talked about that for a little bit longer than I wanted to. We're looking at the standings. Cloud9 Team Liquid tied for first with the record of 7-2. Team Liquid seeming to be doing even better now that they have Core JJ back full time. Green card activated. Long as we waited, everybody debated. There's your memes.
Nah, I'm not gonna.
What? No, you already laughed. You already said you weren't gonna. It means now you have to.
But we had that one, green card activated. Long if we waited, everybody debated. Go ahead and they masturbated.
This is a semi-family show, Joe.
See, this is why I said I'm not gonna.
This is Wheel of Fortune, Joe. Yes, I just Wheel of Fortune Joe'd you.
This is why I said I wasn't gonna, but no.
You can't not do that. You can't do that and then not leave the bag hanging, right? You can't leave me holding the bag and not be like, oh, what's in the bag? Is it money or is it a crappy take? In this case, it was a crappy take. I have not secured the bag. Moving on to the next topic. Don't underestimate my ability to make things work. You're sitting over there laughing like a motherfucker. Like, how the hell did he just make that work?
I thought I was the one with the cleverness around here. I feel my being's usurped.
Well, that's only because you're a disembodied voice. You're not in full form. It's okay.
Oh, that's fair.
I will be dethroned on point of viewer on what is it now? Saturday, Sunday. Yeah. Every other show except this one on this network is moving around, and I'm confused.
Well, every show that you're on this network except for this one is moving around.
Yeah. Thank you, work schedule. So tied for third, we've got Fly Crest. Yes, Crest. They're now a crest. Their crest is the little Q with the leaf in the middle. Save the motherfucking trees. Not smoke the motherfucking trees.
I'm about to say it would take me a minute for that to happen.
Fly Quest is 5-4, so along with Golden Guardians and 100 Thieves. Evil Geniuses sitting at Evil Geniuses, Immortals Progressive, and Dignitas Quantum Pay. Give me the thing. Give me the thing.
Give you what thing? What? The monkey or the Bob Barker?
Other thing. Yeah.
Okay, well, I have to dig to get that one if you'll please hold. I do and
At least I don't have to call them TSM FTX. They're all tied for sixth. At a 4-5 record. And then we have CLG in ninth at 3-6. And then we have TSM. I ain't calling them FTX. at their worstest record by far ever.
Wait.
Yes, it's that bad that I say worstest. At 1-8.
Jesus.
Yeah, 1-8. I'm trying to remember who they got the one win off of. I think it was Cloud9. I'm checking. Please hold.
Doopily doo.
Standings, because it doesn't say. Where's Leaguepedia when I need it?
I'm about to say, normally don't you have this opened up?
Here we go. That's Oh, they won against what is that? Immortals? Yeah, they won against Immortals, not Cloud9. That would have been embarrassing for Cloud9. But yeah, no, the only win they've gotten so far um was, I believe that was this weekend. Yeah, I think that was this weekend. Um yeah, 219. So that was last weekend. That was week 3. Um See, we got so caught up in the Cloud9 shit, we didn't even realize that TSM won a game last week. But yeah, they picked up a win off of Immortals. Thank you, Leaguepedia. Which gives them, at least they're not goose egging it, right? I mean, we have seen that before.
Mm-hmm.
Not this early in the season, though. We're about to be walking into week 5 here. They've never seen a team goose egg that early, but or at least that badly that early, especially somebody like TSM. But they're let's take a look at the strength of schedule for them coming up here. Next week. Excuse me. Let's see. I don't want Academy. Just show me next week's games. There we go. Thank you. Next week they're playing FlyQuest on Saturday, or this week I should say, and then they'll play Golden Guardians on Sunday. Both of those teams, I believe I just said, are tied for 6th, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
sorry, no, FlyQuest is 3rd. Yeah, both of those teams tied for 3rd. FlyQuest and Golden Guardians. So yeah, uphill battle on the strength of schedule for TSM coming up here. Not looking so great for them right now. As far as standings go, the upper part of the bracket, Cloud9, Team Liquid, not surprised at all whatsoever. Slightly surprised about Cloud9's been able to continue with the I don't want to say season record breaking performance because it's not record breaking. Sadly, at 2 losses, but damn good season for them. I'm surprised they're keeping up after the LS drama. Team Liquid, not surprised, especially again, Core JJ is back. He's playing. They've got Bjergsen in the mid lane, who I think is uncontested the best mid laner in North America right now. People that I'm kind of surprised that are doing this low, I was kind of hoping would do better. Um, Mainly evil geniuses. Um, they're tied for sixth, right? But I mean that's the pretty much bottom half of the bracket out of 10 teams. Um, I don't know. I'm looking at their roster, right? And I kind of expected more out of the roster that they have. They've got quite a few veteran names on that roster. And then they've got some very promising up and coming talent like Jojo Pune, which I don't know what's going wrong for them. Um, Overall, but I expected them to be a little bit. I expected them to be in that tied for third group, not the tied for sixth group.
Right. I mean, sometimes you have things to where it could either be attributed to a slow start, although now going into week 5, I don't know whether you would classify this as a slow start or not. And other times you just have things that turn out upside down.
I mean, at this point, we're what, halfway through? Yeah, we're halfway through. The league end or the spring split ends at the end of March.
Oi. Oi.
So, and then that's when we go into playoffs. So there's only 4 weeks left. So yeah, it's an 8 week season. Yeah, so this is quite literally the halfway point. We just finished the halfway point of the season. Um and yeah, it's not looking, I'm pretty sure, what's the playoff? How do playoffs work? Top 4 teams start in the upper bracket, fifth and sixth start in the lower bracket. With a 1-8, they play 2 games a week. They have 4 games left, right?
4 weeks left, so that would be
Or 8 games left. So it's what? 9 plus 8 is 19? Or sorry, 17?
yes.
Yeah, 17. Um
So you'd have to
so
have
with
another
the 10 and
super
8,
week.
so with the 10 and 8 record,
Mhm.
I don't think TSM's mathematically eliminated yet from playoffs. If they go 10 and 8, I think that would probably put them at least sixth.
Okay.
Right? I mean, help
Yeah.
walk me through with some of this math here.
All right. Um so
Here, I'll send you the Leaguepedia if it because it's probably going to help.
oh, it's definitely going to help. I'll say that much.
They just have to make it to sixth, right?
All right. So
They're
looking at
definitely mathematic.
the
I'm almost
standings
willing to bet they're mathematically eliminated for the upper bracket.
cuz the upper bracket is top 4.
Yeah. I'm almost willing to guarantee that they're eliminated. They're mathematically eliminated from the upper bracket.
Well, that I don't know.
Assuming they run undefeated, right?
Right. If they go undefeated, they would be 10 and 8. Right now, you've got a
Which,
three-way.
yeah, week 8 would be the next super show week where they're going to play 3 games.
So you have right now a three-way tie at 5 and 4. So if you're talking a magic numbers of 6 for 100 Thieves, FlyQuest, and Golden Guardians. So when you're saying for TSM, as it stands right now, they would have a tragic number, which means elimination from the top bracket of 6, combined for one of those teams winning and they're losing. They're sitting at 6. If what I said makes any sense.
Kind of.
All right. Are you familiar with the magic number concept?
A little bit. I have heard of it. I do not.
So,
I can't say I understand it fully, but I kind of understand it.
how a magic number works? When you have 2 teams, all right, pick a sport, pick 2 teams.
League, TSM, Cloud9. We'll go with the top and bottom of the standings. Why not?
Okay, all right. As we have our comments from Toby, who's finally rejoined us.
Damn it, Toby.
So, you're basically saying, all right, TSM, could they possibly somehow make a run and win the league? Okay? So you are looking at Cloud9 at 7-2, TSM at 1-8. So for the exact same scenario that you just gave, TSM runs the table. The best that they could do was 10 wins.
Right, which puts them at an overall record of 10-8.
All Cloud9 has to do is get to 11 wins.
Okay.
So realistically, what would be the magic number? A combination of Cloud9 wins and TSM losses is 4. If Cloud9 wins a game, take 1 off the magic number. If TSM loses, that's 1 fewer win that they can end up with. Take 1 off the magic number. Once the magic number hits 0, the scenario is clinched. So in this case, a combination of 4 Cloud9 wins and TSM losses, does not matter how that combination works. If that happens, TSM could not catch up to Cloud9.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
That's how the magic number works.
So I like I said, I'm pretty sure it might be too early now to crunch numbers, but I've got a pretty strong feeling, especially given strength of schedule, what TSM has to still play against, right? Let's take a look here at the schedule. We have week 5 coming up this weekend, right? Mm-hmm. TSM plays FlyQuest and Golden Guardians. Both tied for 3rd at a 5-4. Week 6, they're playing Dignitas and Evil Geniuses, which are both tied for 6th.
And you're in a real logjam. All of these teams, 100 Thieves, FlyQuest, Golden Guardians, Dignitas, Evil Geniuses, and Immortals, not only are they within a game of each other, you're talking 6 teams fighting for 4 spots.
Yeah.
So that adds a little extra to this.
Well, I mean, technically they're fighting for 6 spots, right?
No.
You have the 4 teams that want the upper bracket, right?
No, the reason why I say it's fighting for 4 spots as they're both 2 games behind, or they're all 2 games behind Cloud9.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. I forgot to look at it that way. No, that makes sense. So yeah, you're right. There's a lot of teams fighting for 4 spots.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right. They play in week 7. They're going to play C9 and Immortals. unless unless TSM seriously cheeses out some strategy against Cloud9, I don't think they pick up that win. So you might as well go ahead and chalk them up a loss there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then in the Week 8 Super Show, they're going to play 100 Thieves, CLG, and Team Liquid. Again, I doubt they cheese out Team Liquid, so give them another loss there. And CLG's kind of sitting at the bottom of the ranks, right? They're in ninth place. I could see TSM winning over them. I don't know about 100 Thieves. Again, that's another one of those teams that it's in that three-way run for third right now that are 2 games behind. I'm telling you, just by strength of schedule, things don't look good for TSM for the remainder of the split.
Well, I'm going to say this now, based upon with everything you said, based upon just for the upper bracket as it stands right now, having a tragic number of 6 from elimination, that could easily happen maybe by week 6, since you have within those 4 games. That six can be chopped away very quickly when you're having 2-game weeks.
Oh yeah. By the end of the, I'm gonna say within the next 2 weeks here, we won't see these clumpings of tied for blah. We're gonna actually see defined out standings lists. But even still, TSM's gonna be sitting there at the bottom.
Yeah, and this is what I'm saying. They can pretty much forget, top of the league and upper bracket, maybe even playoffs in general.
Yeah,
Because
like I said, I think we're a couple weeks too early from being able to mathematically eliminate them. But
mm-mm.
looking on strength of schedule, they don't have much of a shot unless they just do some crazy some crazy changes in the next couple of weeks here. Because some of these teams that they have to play are kind of on the rise. Is like there's been a little bit of droppings, right? Dignitas was kind of sitting pretty good for a while. Then they took some losses. They moved down to 6th. Golden Guardians kind of moving up a little bit in the standings. So, but yeah, no. Overall, I really don't think TSM's got a shot of this.
No.
Which I'm pretty sure this is going to be the first time they miss playoffs as an organization, if it happens. I'm checking here. Give me a moment. Let me pull this up.
Because you're right. Unless they go something dramatic, like they're pretty much the next 3 weeks, if they want to have any contention at even say playoffs going into the Super Week, 4-2, 5-1, make up some key ground.
2016 spring, summer. Yeah, I think this might actually be the first time in the organization's history that they would not make playoffs.
It's a shame, but these sorts of things happen.
Because I'm looking at their historical results here. They won LCS Summer last year. Um, they won the split. So yeah, no, I'm almost positive that this would be the first time in the history of the organization that if they don't make playoffs here, that it would be their first time ever. Which again, it's a shame, right? TSM has always been, regardless of how you view them and their brand or whatever, and ownership aside, they've always been a pretty top contending team. But honestly, with the fact that Bjergsen came out of retirement and then decided not to go to TSM,
Mm-hmm.
really gutted TSM as a team, right? I think TSM as an organization is just entirely gutted right now. I mean, if you look at their roster, honestly, I think their only like standout talent that they have is Hooney, and they have tactical in the bot lane as well, um, who came over from Team Liquid, I believe. Sounds about right. Um, but like I said, it's I don't know. The whole again, the whole situation is just like, let's see, 2022 spring. Um, give me a moment here. I'm just looking through some information and stats and stuff.
All right. I'm looking up and
Yeah,
making sure a
no,
couple things on
there's
my end.
like I said, they got Hooney, they got Tactical. Those are really the only two like veteran players I think that they have, right? And yeah, I was right. He came from Tactical came from Team Liquid. Um Honestly, I think Tactical might be the best talent that they have on that team. I think Hooney, yes, Hooney is a world caliber champion, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was part of the Korean Dynasty greats. Um, SK Telecom, Samsung Galaxy. I mean, Hooney's kind of been all over the place. Um, but I don't know. Part of me thinks I don't want to say Hooney's washed up, but Hooney's definitely getting up there, right? Like he's been playing since 2014. Um, he's played for what, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. He's played for nine different teams throughout his career. He pretty much averages a split, maybe a year if we're lucky on a team.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then ends up moving somewhere else. Um, I don't know. Like I said, TSM just feels broken and gutted, and I feel bad for them. I feel bad for their players, right? Like nobody wants to be on a team that's 1-8. Um, yeah, nobody wants to be on a team that's 1-8 at all. It's not a good feeling. I don't care what sport it is or who you are. It's just not a good feeling.
Well, at least the thing is, you don't want
And
to be on a.
I don't know what changes TSM can make. Um, that puts them in a position to run the reverse sweep, if you will, to make it to playoffs. And
Oh
even
no,
and again, even if they do pull the reverse sweep, I think they're getting in by the hair of their teeth, which is not
yeah,
how you want to do. Which is not the position you want to be in going into playoffs. You don't want to be the team that made it in by the hair of their teeth after having to pull out the craziest reverse comeback in the history of the league.
mm-hmm. And I, I get it. Weird things have happened though, because if they do this reverse,
As we were saying, as was a temporary catchphrase of the show during Worlds, stranger things have happened in this tournament.
not to mention if you
Stranger things have definitely happened in the LCS, but
the sound of silence in someone's Discord blowing up. If
that
they
was
do,
probably, if you're hearing it, it's probably the wannabe disembodied voice who left his speakers on. I don't have my Discord notification pings turned on. Otherwise, they would never shut up because of how many Discord servers I'm in.
but I will say this: if by chance, they do pull this sort of reverse sweep, you'd argue that they'd be the hottest team in playoffs. And you never know what could happen from there.
I do agree with you. If they pull it off, then damn, they've found something and made it work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, you're right. I think you legitimately have to sit there and go, holy shit, this team is scary right now.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, again, not a position you want to be in to begin with.
No, you don't. You don't. So it's these next 2 weeks. And honestly, if I'm the top brass at TSM, it's like I know I'm not really going to be able to really keep anybody. How are we going to rebuild?
Oh yeah, that's definitely what I'm pretty sure at this point. That is exactly what um, Reggie and the staff over at TSM are thinking about right now. I think if you're smart, you're gonna continue to play to win, right? Like obviously, because you never know what freakish thing might happen. I mean, if we're only halfway through the season, like I said, you're not at the mathematical point of elimination yet, but you're damn close, right? You're knocking on the door.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not too late to realize that you're at the wrong address and turn around and get the fuck out of Dodge.
This is true. I've been there.
Um, before somebody opens the door up. But at the same time, I think you have to realistically be sitting there going, okay, maybe we have a chance to make playoffs, but at the same time, realistically, what the hell do we do to win summer?
Mm-hmm.
I would not be surprised if some sort of acquisition or trade or release or some player personnel changes or coaching personnel changes are made at TSM during MSI during the off season, so or during the break between spring and summer, right? Um I'm just it's I don't know. Something's got to change in that org. I don't know what. I know they lost their head coach recently. He retired as we covered on the show. That's probably got to be hitting them a little bit. So I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe the only thing they need is a new coach, right? And that's what brings them back to the successes that they had previously. Who knows? But yeah, no, not a great day to be a TSM fan. For those of you left that are still TSM fans after Double Lift and Bjergsen and Parth and everybody and the Reggie drama and uh, it's no longer are we in the days of fuck it Bay life, right? Um, but yeah, no, I think that's the biggest thing that we need. Those are going to be the two biggest things that we need to watch. As ironically, the two teams that are embroiled in the most controversy or drama or however you want to put it are the two teams that we need to look at the most when it comes to standings for the remainder of the season. In Cloud9, who at 7-2, even if they manage to fuck up and lose every game from here on out, which is what 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 games. 7-9 is probably still a good enough record to get you into playoffs.
7-9, maybe, but you would be talking 7-11.
Did I say 7-9?
Yes, you
Yeah.
did.
2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 9 games left to play. What the hell?
So they've
Oh,
already
right, the 2 losses. I forgot to factor that. Can you tell the kind of day that it's been for me?
again math already done for you.
I mean, that's also, math being done for me is definitely a W2M network exclusive. This is why I have 2 mathematicians around. Somebody's going to tell me when my numbers are wrong, and it ain't going to be Twitter. Speaking of Twitter, as always, if you want to send a hate mail about the bad math on the show, you can do that to Mr. Hate Mail himself at s.garber@gmail.com. However, if you would like to compliment our number crunching producer extraordinaire who is no longer gaffing like crazy, you can find him on Twitter at Squid Sportshead. And if you
There
are
you go.
And if you are a salty TSM fanboy and you want to tell me that I suck, you can do that on Twitter as well. I'm at the Andesian. However, I subscribe to the Captain Flowers philosophy of Twitter, which is if you tweet at me and your profile picture is an anime avatar, I'm going to laugh at you and dismiss everything that you have to say.
I mean, depending on the avatar, I get it.
Um, And if you want to yell at the disembodied, he's asleep. We're not talking about that disembodied voice today. It's past midnight. He has to work. He'll be around tomorrow night for Life is Like a Game Show on its new night and time here on the W2M network tomorrow night at what is it, 11 o'clock? I believe still. It's
Are
either
we
10 or 11.
Yeah, I was about to say, are we doing? I don't know if we narrowed down a time.
I don't think we narrowed down I think it was dependent on Harry. Last I checked, it's either Harry or John, and I know John can't do like before 9:30, 10. I don't know. Tuesday nights here on the W2M network, moving from Thursday nights. It's Life is Like a Game Show. We're doing The Price is Right re-deep dive. Because we fucked up the last one because our host wasn't around. Because this was when we introduced our new rolling gimmick of Harry Broadhurst will not be seen tonight.
And the fact that he cemented his status as the voice of reason.
But since we have Harry back on a semi-regular, not even semi-regular, but actually regular basis, we're definitely going to be redoing The Price is Right and giving it proper treatment and proper justice, because when the three of us did it, we just rambled for like a 3 hour, 3.5 hour episode.
And even
It at the time was the second longest episode on the W2M network network podcast network. Yeah, that's why I was right the first time. But anyways, we're about an hour and a half in. I think this is a good point to call the show, unless something else happened that I missed that I should be aware of, or you have
happy
something that you want to chime in with.
happy March.
I'm just gonna check something really quick here, and I
I definitely, yeah.
give me the thing. Give him the thing. Thank you. Why is that news? That should not be news. That's just something we'll be talking about on Friday for sure. Twitch,
Friday,
or sorry, the next point of viewer.
Sunday, because you work Friday.
I'm sorry, I've gotten used to the damn show being on Fridays. Something we're definitely going to be talking about on Friday. Or see, I did it again. On Sunday. Are you familiar with the Twitch star Amaranth?
Hell yeah.
Why am I not surprised that your response to that was hell yeah?
I mean, hot tub streams, dirty ASMR, boobs. Shall I continue?
She has started a new business venture called Cutie Patooties, where she's pulling a Belle Delphine, if that name makes any familiarity to you. She is selling her own hot tub water, her own hair, and glass jars full of her farts for the very hefty price of $1,000 a jar. And looking at it, it looks like it's a pint mason jar that I could go buy at my local craft store, or hell, even my local Publix, and get a case of 12 for $10 and then printed a $2 label and stuck it on there.
Bryan.
We'll be talking about this on Sunday for sure.
Shall I give my preview of that?
As long as it's safe for work, because this is a semi-family show.
Of course. My first opinion is you hear the rest Sunday. Other than that, we're good. Why do
Oh man. Okay. Some quick TSM news. See, this is why I need to check the actual journalism things before I go on the thing here. Apparently, Lena, who is the ex-president of esports over at TSM, and known romantic interest of Doublelift, recently made a comment on his Twitch stream, saying TSM thinks the amount of money you spend into LCS isn't worth the value that they're getting out. That's why they always talk about expanding to mobile and other regions and other games when they're asked about TSM's future. I've talked about this on my stream. This is one of the reasons why I wanted to leave, because their company direction and interests no longer align with mine.
Well then. Okay.
I mean, it's kind of common knowledge that LCS is not profitable at all, right? Even Riot said of esports, John Needham confirmed in an interview with the Washington Post recently, at the end of Worlds, that was featured again in the Washington Post. An actual credible journalistic production that uses actual real journalists that do actual real reporting. I'm going to inch further to the camera, even though I can't think of anything else to say.
Keeping with the gimmick, I get this.
That the LCS does not make money for Riot. Riot actually loses money in the LCS. But I think they probably make the money back in the amount of merchandise that they sell, because Riot does show merchandise, or does shill, not sell, shill. There's a difference. They do shill merch at the live events. People will see the skins and stuff, and esports skins do make a pretty penny in Riot's store. Like cosmetics. So TSM definitely embattled in some stuff right now. Even Reginald went into the subreddit and said, it isn't about one-to-one cost. We spent $5 million on league, which is top 3 in the league. We also knew that our above roster would lead to a more consistent performance, but thought it wouldn't have the potential to dominate the league or go far at Worlds. Probably top 4. We wanted to build over 3 years, not 1. We spent over $1 million buying out both Shen Yi and KDO. We went with rookies to rebuild over the 3 years, not build for a year at a time. We took a bet, and it's not going well. Well, I mean, that's definitely a way of putting things.
It is, but is it really the best way of putting things?
I don't know, but it's definitely a way of putting things. That's for sure.
Again, for something like this, it's not over. So we'll be hearing more about this, especially for next Monday.
Yeah, no, we're definitely going to come back and talk about this. We'll be talking about this through the remainder of the season. I'm almost positive of it. But yeah, no, we're I think we're done. Yeah, I think we're done.
Well, yeah, we're done.
Yeah, we're done. All right, that's it. That's the show. That's the tweet. Good night. Okay, don't actually end on that.
Had you gone, waited an extra second, it would have.
You want to do an actual outro plug for like legitimate real on this time?
Facebook.com/W2M Network, Twitch.tv/W2M Net, Twitter.com/W2M Network, YouTube.com/W2M Network. If you take your podcast orally, Stitcher, Spreaker, Podbean, Castbox, Overcast, rate and review us on Spotify, Apple Pods, Google Pods, iHeartRadio, if you name it, most likely we're on it.
There you go. That's it. We'll see you tomorrow night for Life is Like a Game Show, folks.
Yep. See you all tomorrow. And see you next week. Good night.
Good night.